If you're like me, a person who learned how to play the electric guitar within the last 7 decades is probably you. It's a pretty big range. Then you will know how difficult it is piecing together your first electric guitar rig. First, you've got to find the guitar, which for most of us was essentially a plank of wood with strings bolted to it, with action so high it'll make your fingers bleed, and with sound so bad it'll make your ears bleed. And the next piece of the puzzle, the guitar amplifier, which for most of us was essentially a box full of random electronics with a speaker that essentially sounded like it was constructed of nothing but mud. Let's not even talk about our first effects pedals or our first guitar cables, which didn't even work most of the time. It is a very common pain that most of us guitarists have had to go through in the process of learning, but here in 2025, it's no longer the case. Because now you can get a guitar that isn't pure garbage, that has consistent build quality, a good setup from the factory, and the crazy part is it's not just the guitar, it's your entire rig. Because the amplifier is built in, it requires no additional cables because it's battery powered, and you no longer have to spend hours online getting berated for asking questions about which pedals you need. And I know you're probably thinking, that sounds expensive. But what if I told you it came in at around $500 or sometimes even less? What I am talking about is a composite smart guitar called the Inspire by Enya, and it sounds like this. Guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle, and welcome to Belligerent Studios, where apparently I have the light of God smiling down upon me today. What I do is I take all sorts of awesome high-gain related guitar equipment, record it with a simple setup, and I give you the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into E-standard thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes with the light of God shining down on them, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on the way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks. All right, guys, so today we are checking out a guitar that I truly didn't think that I would ever see on this channel. That guitar is the Enya Inspire composite smart guitar. I have seen these Enya guitars pop up not only in my YouTube feed, but in my social media feed more times than I could count. And as a guitar player who loves plugging into a big full stack and just cranking it, talking about the full stack, the idea of these smart guitars with the built-in speakers and amp modeling and everything, they didn't really appeal to me. But I gotta say, I've been seeing some people who I actually really respect talk about these guitars and say nothing but great things about them. I actually get asked all the time by people who are looking to pick up their first guitar rig for their kids in order to get them into playing. And usually I'll suggest something to them like a used Squire Strat and a used amplifier. But I kind of figured, you know what? They have guitars that are essentially just all-in-one solutions now. So I think it's about time that I kind of checked something like that out here on the channel, give you guys my honest thoughts, and figure out whether this is something that I could actually recommend to a hardworking parent looking to pick up that first guitar rig. The idea of one of these smart guitars that just has everything that you need built directly into the guitar really is kind of an appealing idea. And honestly, I think it does take a lot of those barriers out of the way if you're trying to find your first guitar rig and not really knowing what to shop for. To be able to hop on Amazon, find this guitar, sometimes under $400. At the time of filming, this guitar is 550 bucks, but they go on sale often, especially around the holidays. And I think that that's a phenomenal deal, especially because I have found this is a wonderful instrument. Like, there is no question that this guitar is better than my Squier Fat Strat that I got back in 2003. And my time so far with this guitar has been nothing short of impressive. So with that said, we're gonna check out some of the features that this guitar offers. But real quick, before we get into that, I do wanna let you know this is a sponsored video. In the sake of full transparency, I wanted you guys to know that Enya provided this guitar and they are paying me to share it with you guys here on the channel. So feel free to take everything that I have to say with a massive grain of salt. You're more than fair to do so, but just know I'm gonna give you my honest thoughts and opinions, as I always do. And when I talked to Enya about this video, I straight up told them, I'll check it out. If I don't think that this thing is legit, I'm not gonna share it on the channel. I have no interest of doing that. So the fact that you are seeing this video right now means that I am impressed, as I said, with this guitar. So with that being said, let's dive into some of the features that you guys are gonna find with the Enya Inspire. And let's start with the first and most obvious feature. This guitar is advertised as a carbon fiber guitar. Whether it is real carbon fiber or not, I'm not really sure, but it is some sort of molded composite body. So you might think that it would feel cheap or weird in the hands, but it really doesn't. It feels good. The weight is good. It's not too light. It's not too heavy. And one of the great things that you'll know with this being a molded composite style guitar is that they're all gonna essentially be the same. The weight isn't really gonna vary. The weight distribution of the guitar is not gonna vary. And not only is the body a composite, but the fretboard is a composite too. So it looks like ebony, but if you look closely, there are some little shiny, sparkly bits in it, which leads you to the fact that it is also composite. So the entire body of this guitar, top to bottom, is composite. And interestingly enough, the guitar has a Gibson scale, even though it's kind of like a Super Strat type design. It almost reminds me of a Parker mixed with a Super Strat. So yeah, Gibson scale, which is kind of interesting for a guitar of this form factor. Down on the body here, as you can see, we have a two-way trem system or whammy bar. We've got an SSH pickup configuration, and that is single coil humbucker. But because we have a 5-way pickup selector here, we can actually split that humbucker to make it a single coil. So you've got lots of tonal options if using this thing as a standard guitar into an amp. The pickups also feature ceramic magnets. This is a 24 fret guitar, and it is actually the first guitar that I've ever owned that has a 0 fret. If you don't know what that is a fret right underneath the nut where the strings are essentially held in place to go into the tuning pegs. And the purpose of a 0 fret is basically just to help with overall tuning stability. And then finally at the top here, we've got some Enya branded tuners on the back of the guitar, and I'm not sure what the ratio is on these. They are a little bit on the touchy side, meaning small adjustments definitely go a long way on the strings. And as you can see on the back of the guitar, again, being a molded guitar, there is no reason to bolt on the neck or to glue it in. It is all one continuous piece of guitar. So moving over to the front of this guitar and where things really start to get interesting, we have two different knobs here. This knob is a kind of flat round knob, and it functions sort of as a volume, and this knob functions essentially as a tone if you're plugging directly into an amplifier or into your interface for a guitar plug-in or something. But if you long press this button, that is what turns on the guitar, which automatically enables speaker mode, which means that everything that you play on this guitar is going to come out of the internal speaker down here on the body. And again, kind of defeating one of those early issues that I had. If you don't want to play through a speaker and play out loud with your electric guitar, well, on the bottom here, we've also got a 3.5mm headphone jack, so you can plug a standard pair of headphones into this guitar and bother nobody but yourself with your terrible playing. And again, this guitar is battery powered. It is charged via a Type-C port. The battery life is surprisingly great. I haven't charged it once since I got it, and I'm down to like 50% on battery, and I've been playing through the speaker quite a bit, so the battery life is respectable. So honestly, cool features, and like I said, these knobs basically function as volume knobs. That turns down the volume of the overall modeling, whereas the secondary knob down here turns down the volume of your pickup. Essentially turns it into a clean tone, so you can ride the volume control like you would on a regular guitar in order to go from clean to dirty without having to change any amplifier settings. Is it the most convincing thing in the world? No, but it works. And as I showed you, flipping through the presets, you basically have to go from 1 through 4 and cycle through using the built-in button. But Enya also offers a Bluetooth foot switch, which allows you to swap between the 4 different presets. You get clean, you get slightly overdriven, you get crunch, and then you get high gain. And all of these are gonna be controlled within the app, which I'll bring up in just a second. But because this thing has built-in modeling that can basically be shot out directly from the 1/4-inch guitar cable, you could literally take this guitar to a gig, plug it into the front of house, bring this foot switch with you, and switch between 4 different preset tones and essentially have a 4-channel amp modeling guitar rig setup that requires no outboard gear whatsoever. But honestly, I could totally see somebody showing up to like a small local gig with this, or maybe even like busking on the street and having everything you need in this guitar. It's really cool. And the foot switch, again, wireless foot switch, super nice touch for those exact reasons. So I'll make sure to link down below to this foot switch as well if you guys want to check this out with the guitar. But with all the essential features out of the way, let's dive into the app so you guys can see exactly how much. But with all of those standard features out of the way, let's dive into the app so you guys can see how much control you have over everything. All right, guys, so I have the app pulled up here on my phone, and as you can see, I have my guitar shown on the app, and all I have to do is click the connect button and then hit the blue button here in order to connect everything, and bam, it automatically brings up our 4 different presets. And as you can see, under each individual preset, they give you 4 different preset options, so you can kind of go through. They have some standard ones that they load into the amplifier. That's kind of cool, actually. No, it's not. So you can go through these individual presets and dial them in for whatever you want. You can rename them, you can change the images on them. So if you're trying to dial these in on the fly or switch between them on the fly, it'll make it very visually easy to see which one that you're selecting. So that's our soft cry. Here's waves. And you hear that it's got some chorus on it. So there is modulation built into the modeling that is in the guitar. Old time. We got some really cool delay going on, and breath. Got some tremolo and some reverb. Switching over to overdrive, I'm just gonna hit my handy dandy foot switch here. As you can hear, kind of like an edge of breakup tone. Switch over to my distortion. And that is actually the tone that I used for the intro track in this video. Saved it to a preset, and now it's always there. And finally, high gain. So there you go, 4 different presets, 4 different tones, all available to you at the click of a button via the foot switch or cycling through via this control here. And just to show you what is in each one of these presets, we can click on it and hit edit. That brings me to one of my first issues with this thing. The pickup is so close to the speaker that if you're doing anything really high gain, you're gonna get feedback if the speaker's turned up all the way. So just keep that in mind. It's not super conductive to that. Right here, we've got our amp menu, and we've got 2 different amps. So we've got a deluxe clean, we've got a 100 distortion, which I'm assuming is supposed to be some sort of like Soldano type thing. I honestly feel like they could do more than that, like quite a bit more. And maybe they're just trying to keep things like simple because these guitars are sort of more aimed at entry-level players. But I would like to see some more options as far as the amplifier modeling goes. This also doesn't have any sort of impulse response selection. The cab is essentially baked into the amplifier, so you won't be able to change impulse responses. Keep that in mind. We've got bass, middle, treble, preamp, master, and presence, your standard amp EQ controls. And then over here, we have some effects. So as you guys can see, we have an equalizer that comes after the amp. So this really allows you to shape the tone of the amp because you really can alter things pretty significantly with this 5-band EQ. We've got modulation, which is our chorus. We've got a noise reduction pedal, which is actually a really nice touch to have a built-in noise gate in here. We've got delay, and we've got reverb. So we've got all your standard stuff, and the way to enable and disable these is sliding up and down. Real quick, I'm gonna run through these tones on the speaker, and then we're actually going to plug this in so you guys can hear how the modeling sounds plugged directly into my interface. Starting with the clean. So as you can see, 5 different pickup selection options there. That was the clean. Here's the overdrive. Moving over to the distortion. And then finally, high gain! So with all that being said, we are now going to plug it in to my interface. All right, so that's high gain. Let's go back to just regular distortion. I think that's the highlight of it, personally, of the modeling on this thing. Here's just the regular overdrive. And finally, the clean. All right, so those are all the tones going straight into the interface. Let's actually check out a little bit of the functionality here, because what I can do is connect this to my phone via Bluetooth, and then I can bring up YouTube, and it's gonna go straight into the interface and come out of my listening device, but I still have my guitar tone. Well, you definitely don't want to hear me do any more of that. I just think it's really cool. Jam along with backing tracks, either through your headphones, through your monitor, through the speaker. It works on any of the outputs that you want to use on the guitar. And as a kid who sat in my room learning how to play songs from bands I loved a lot when I was younger, this just makes it super easy to do it all in one single device. I honestly really, really love that. And as a basic guitar instrument, especially for a new learner or for somebody who just needs something that's like fairly solid to take out to local gigs and do everything that you need it to do, it's a good guitar. Like I said, I would put this up against my Squier Fat Strat that I got when I was younger all day, and I guarantee you in a blind shootout, I would pick this thing because this thing plays surprisingly well. The frets are nice and smooth. The fretboard feels great under the fingers. So with that being said, let's plug it into a real amp and see how this thing gets. All right, guys, so I have the Enya Inspire plugged directly into the Engel Ravager, going into an Engel 2x12 cabinet loaded with vintage 30s and SM57 on those V30s, and you will hear no post-processing. This is what the guitar sounds like going straight into an amplifier. Would you look at that? It sounds like a guitar. All right, guys, so my final thoughts on the Enya Inspire. For somebody looking for an all-in-one first instrument where all you have to do is buy one item and essentially have everything you need, all of your basic necessities covered. You've got the guitar itself, the instrument, you have a built-in amplifier with a built-in headphone amplifier, built-in modeling so that you don't have to try built-in modeling so you don't have to get an external amp, the ability to record that modeling going going straight into the interface into your computer if you want to record using that guitar. All of this housed in a battery-powered composite body that feels comfortable, that has a great straight neck on it, that plays honestly surprisingly well, and comes in at generally around $500. I really do think that this would be a great starter kit for somebody looking for their first guitar, or again, for the gigging musician who just wants an all-in-one solution to take with them. As far as the cons, the modeling is very limited. Not all of the modeling sounds amazing. It is very utilitarian, meaning it gets the job done, but you don't have a ton of tweaking options, and the tones themselves, some of them are decent, some of them are kind of eh. I would say that's really about it for me as far as the cons, because everything else about this guitar has been very, very impressive. And honestly, I really enjoyed checking this thing out and getting to check out my first personal smart guitar. So now I'm gonna leave it up to you. What did you guys think about this guitar? Is this a guitar that you would consider getting for someone as a first guitar, or consider for yourself as maybe a fun travel guitar, or again, as a simple all-in-one gig guitar? Or in your mind, is this completely gimmicky and something you'll never be interested in? Either way, let me know down below in the comments. If you guys would like to check out this particular guitar, again, links down below to both the Enya Inspire and the Bluetooth 4-button foot switch. And I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.